I think giving critical feedback is always really, really difficult. So it's really important before you do it to pause and be really careful about what you say and how you say it. The mentoring experience is meant to be a positive one, but you can't grow unless you're honest. So I think it's really, really important to take into account someone's personal circumstances before you say anything, because often when someone's struggling with something, there's more going on in the picture than probably just the direct problem at hand.
As long as it's constructive, remember we're dealing with lawyers. They work in some quite difficult environments, and they should be able to handle some timely constructive feedback. I mentioned timely because that is important. Pick the moment, don't do it on the first meeting, maybe a few months in, and also get to the bottom of why that behaviour might exist. There's often some reasons for that, and you don't necessarily know that off the first meeting or two or three even.
So your very first mentoring session is where you find out all of the information you need with regards to how to give critical feedback. Openly ask your mentee, how are you with critical feedback? Are there any particular areas that you're a bit sensitive to? And also, if I do come across something or you speak about something and I think, oh, you could have done that better or a different way, are there any particular ways that you would prefer me to give that information? And indeed, do I even have permission? Or are all you're looking for from me as a mentor is encouragement?
Delivery is everything. So, you can't stand up and start lecturing them because obviously that's going to get you nowhere. But you should give that critique in a way that's constructive, that hopefully gives them solutions and gives them food for thought. And whether that be asking questions like, do you think that behaviour achieved the result that you wanted? Do you think there's another way you could have done that?
And so if someone says, I had a difficult manager and I want to deal with it this way, and you think, I'm not sure that's going to go down very well, I wouldn't say it that way. But what I would say is, well, have you thought about doing it this way? Or if you were to do it that way, how do you think the person would respond? And is that the response that you would want? And just help talk them through, well, where is it that you want to go? And is this the best way of getting there, or is there another way that you can tackle this issue to get the resolution that you want? And often I find that when you ask people to talk through the process, they themselves will realise that they need to course correct and maybe there's a different or more productive way of dealing with something.
It's a leadership skill to a certain extent, and it's a maturity thing. You need to know when and how to deliver criticism or when and how to deliver bad news if you want there to be a positive relationship that follows on from that. And what I like to do when I deliver bad news, and my team know this, is I have a bad news sandwich. The first level of the sandwich is the good news, so I will say something positive. Then the second part of the sandwich is the meat in the middle, and that will be the bad news that I have to give you. I will give it to you straight, I will give it to you honestly, but I won't give it to you brutally. And then the third part of the sandwich is the bread on the end, another positive sentence, so that the person is leaving with something positive, but hopefully a learning relationship from the middle part of the sandwich. Now that may sound very basic, but in my experience it's something that's worked, and it's something that's engendered respect, and people have generally responded well when I've given them criticism. No one likes to hear criticism, but you need to learn from that criticism. So for somebody to learn from that criticism, you have to deliver it in a way that they will learn. You can't crush them.
Okay, so in any communication, we know that 55% of the communication comes from visuals, and then 38% is at tonal. So that being the case, if you're giving feedback, that it's going to be received most appropriately and in the spirit to which it's been given if it's face-to-face. Because if you think about it, how often have you read an email from somebody and they've made a correction on something and you've taken it the wrong way? But if they had face-to-face given you that, A, you would have seen how they were intending it, but also they would have been able to read your visual cues and been able to see whether you're taking it the way it was intended.
I actually really like to use a really simple feedback model that was developed by leading teams who've done extraordinary work both in the AFL and with the Australian Diamonds, and it's simply keep, stop, start. So what do you need to keep doing? What's actually really working effectively for you? Here's something you might consider stopping because of the impact that I'm seeing that it's having, and potentially here's what you might like to start doing. It's just a really simple model that continues the healthy relationship but allows you to give good feedback.
Sometimes the mentor will find themselves in a situation where they can gently guide the mentee, especially if the mentee recognises as an issue which they want to explore and to develop. If the mentor perceives there's an issue with the behaviour or personality or something about the mentee, and they feel very awkward about raising the issue with the mentee, or it's really stepping into another realm of professional experience, that's when the mentor should consider their own ability in assisting the mentee in that regard, or even referring the mentee on to someone else they consider appropriate.